Hi, thanks for checking out our channel. This video hopefully will be of some benefit to somebody, and I'll teach them a little thing here and there. But what this video is going to be about is on a Gallagher weigh scale for weighing livestock and different things. They sent me in their scale as well as a set of these are some load cells out of one of the squeeze chute load bars. So their note says lead pulled out, and I was like, what lead you guys talking about? And I look at it, that's not supposed to be missing like that. You can see the plastic still kind of bolted in, but the rest of it's gone. It's supposed to look like this. So the bad thing is they didn't send the lead. They didn't send the connector, because there's a little, I want to open it up and we'll see if the connector's still there. So looking in the box, the connector's not there, because on the back side of this connector is a gray cable, a little red plug on it, and each one of them little wires off that plug go to a certain pin on this thing, and they didn't send that with it. I thought maybe it was still stuck inside there, and it's not. So we're gonna pull this thing apart and see. Maybe don't really hear anything moving around inside, but you know, worth a shot. So I got to find the right bit to take this thing apart. I think that's the right one. I just need a drill. This particular model of scale is a Gallagher W210. The good thing is, if this is not in there, I've got a 210 scale that I use here for testing load bars, and I'd be willing to sacrifice one of these, one of the connectors on mine. Nope, it's not there. You see, it's missing. It's supposed to plug in right there, like this other one is. Yeah, that one's plugged in over there on the back side of it, and it's completely missing. Well, I'm gonna unplug this. See, let's just see if it comes on first. See if it says hello and all that stuff. It does not. Well, battery could be bad. Could be low. See if I got a battery charge cable for that anywhere. Maybe you'll find a battery charge cable or something to run it off of. Alright, I've got a 12-volt cable. They'll plug in there to run it and see if the battery's any good. Hopefully the battery's just low. I think the guy said this was a spare scale, that they've got another scale that they use there. So we'll see if we can bring this one back to life, but we're gonna definitely check out the load cells and see what's going on there. So now I'm going to plug this into here and hook this up to a 12-volt power supply. Turn the power supply on. Well, it's coming on and says it's trying to charge. It says hello. Well, scale might be good. It might need a new battery. I don't know. And we'll come back to this. I'm gonna let this thing sit here and charge for a little while and see what happens. It ain't got a very heavy draw on the power supply, so it's not charging a whole lot. But we'll let it sit there and do its thing. I'm gonna take these screws so I don't lose them. Put them inside the scale, or actually, I'm gonna just set them right here. All right, while it's doing this thing, I'm gonna grab my scale that I use. Same model, just dirtier. And we're gonna plug their scale into mine. I want to show you a little trick real quick. If you got one of these Gallagher scales, this probably work on a true test as well. This isn't too bad, but you know, sometimes you get these, this has been chewed on by something. So, see how easily this thing spins? It's supposed to spin real easily, but every once in a while you'll get one that's really tight. Here's a trick that I do to try to help free it up. You can use really anything, but I use WD-40 only because it doesn't hurt electronics. And the only thing that's inside this connector is some wires and a resistor. But usually what happens, you get this, there's a buildup of gunk of some sort around this plug, like where it spins there. So take some WD-40 or whatever, spray it in there, and you work it up and down, back and forth. You even smack it with a hammer or a pair of pliers and to try to help break stuff up. You also can spray up here. Hold upside down for a moment, let the WD-40 kind of work itself in there. But you can work this thing back and forth. You know, move that up and down like that and spin it around. And you can smack on it. Ow. And work it some more and back and forth. Eventually, after about 2 or 3 minutes of doing that, you'll usually free that up pretty good. Enough to where you can, when you plug it in, you can actually tighten it on there. So that's a little trick. That one didn't need it, but I wanted to show you just in case you had a connector that was bound up on you. That's a trick that I do to free them up. I use WD-40 just because it doesn't hurt electronics in it or anything. So, all right, so get this tangled mess of wire here. All right, so what this should do now, I don't have the load bar, I just had the load cells and the cable. We're going to turn to M for manual. Okay, we got an H. Okay, so what that means is it's got a high signal of some, out of range, high signal, whatever, from the load cells to the scale. So sometimes that can be a broken wire inside the cable, could be something wrong inside the connector on the cable, could be something wrong with the load cells inside these little blocks right here. So that's what that means. You'll get a -L-, which means a low signal. You get a -H, which means high signal, I think. And then -O or 0-, which means I think out of range or something like that. But that doesn't mean the scale's got a problem. Typically it means something's wrong with the load cells or the cable or load bar or whatever. So what we're going to do is I'm going to stretch that cable back, the spring. And I'm going to get a couple cable ties here. And see, there's this little thing right here that holds your cable against the load bar when you have it apart or when you're inside of it. So, but just so that way the spring doesn't, because I want to cut this cable off flush down here, and I want this thing flying off. So I'm going to zip tie it back, move this back here, and I don't want to lose that. So I'm going to put a cable tie through it so it doesn't come off and it stays with the cable and everything for the most part. Might even put one. So really, I don't have another. Well, I can find these, but I don't want to buy one if I don't have to. So just in case, a zip cable tie is pretty cheap, you know, pennies on the dollar. So I'm going to go back here, so that way that little cable holder thing stays put. So now I'm going to cut these wires flush, that way I get as much length as I can. This little box, just a potted junction box where all these wires were all tied together at. So that's trash. And we'll cut these apart. So get the cells individually sitting here. I'm just going to inspect the cable on here, make sure it's not pulled out or chewed up or anything. That looks good. So I'm going to strip a little bit of this off. There's 4 wires inside there. I'll do that. I'll strip it back all the way in a minute. Look at this one. Nothing looks chewed up. It's not pulled out of here anywhere. So now we're going to strip off a little bit of this. And now we're going to strip this back. Get those wires stripped back about that far. And do the same thing over here. All right, now I'm going to ohm it out with my meter, do each cell individually and see what they read. I've got these memorized, so I'm just going to go through it real quick just to see which one's bad and which one's good. So far, so good with that one. Both load cells are fine. So the problem's in the connector or the cable or whatever somewhere. Maybe when that connector got yanked out, the cable, maybe it damaged something on this cable. So now I'm going to run my fingers along the cable, looking for any chewed spot, smashed spot, broken spot, pinch spot, stuff like that. And they had this yellow or this spring around them. The early ones didn't, but the later ones they did. There's just some crap in there, nothing serious. I don't feel any bad things in the cable. All right, well, now the next thing to do is we've got to ohm out continuity on this cable. So I'm going to cut this wire in half. This is a wire I've got sitting here. Just because my leads aren't small enough to stick inside them holes on there. So I need to be able to plug a wire in there and go from this connector to the other end of the cable. And ohm it out and for continuity and see what it reads. So I need to strip this back. Yeah, be kind of careful. When I've done this enough times, I know how to do it without cutting into the thing. Those things are starting to wear out. Use these little ones. You got this outer yellow cable, insulation or whatever, and you've got a inner insulation, but then you got 4 wires inside of it too. So we're going to strip off some on each end of this. Oops. All right, so I'm going to, first thing I want to do on this connector is I want to test it. You can't read them, or barely, but they're labeled 1 through 6, and then middle pin is 7 or ground. So we want to go through center pin, and there's a resistor inside here. I got to figure out which one's 5, so it's either going to be this one or this one. Well, we're going to guess that one since I can't read the numbers that are on there. See what that resistor reads. That resistor inside here, every load cell, load bar, cable, connector, whatever, these on True Test and Gallagher, they've got a resistor in there that tells the scale what load bar is plugged into me, basically. Alright, so the resistor's good. So now we're going to do a continuity test. That's pin 5, so 4, 3, 2, 1. So now we're going to turn it to continuity, and we're going to go from this wire on the connector. I'm going to touch pin 1, should beep, and these ones shouldn't. A red wire should beep. Go to pin 2. Okay, that beeped like it's supposed to. Those shouldn't beep, and they didn't beep, so that's good. Pin 3. Uh-oh. We're not getting reading on pin 3. Try that again just to make sure. Sure it's in there good. Oh. Nope, we got it there. Pin 4 seems a little weird. So what the heck's going on here? Let's put it to pin 3. Well, it's strange because everything's testing fine, so what the heck's going on here? I mean, this connector's been chewed on by something that was yanked out of the side of the thing, so what we may do is put a new connector on there, and you can't take these connectors apart. They're glued on the inside, so you have to wire on a new connector, so you have to cut it off, basically flush with the cord. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to zip tie that spring back there, cut this flush, let's cut off some of this. Because there may be a an issue inside that connector, that just because it's been chewed on, yanked on. You know, maybe there's barely making a connection sometimes it's not. You know, and you can't take those connectors apart. I mean, in theory, you're supposed to be able to, but they're glued together from the factory, so that just try to help keep the... Ooh. I stripped it back, and there wasn't any wire there. So I wondered about that. That's pin... Red, black... That's pin 4, goes to the white one. When I stripped it back, the wire, when I stripped it off, the wire stayed inside here, and it looks like there's a little greenish looking crud on it, so maybe it's been moisture, I don't know. Come on. Come on, get off there. Thing's kind of slippery since I put that WD-40 on there. It's kind of hard to hold on to it. Okay, so now I got to get another connector. The nice thing is Gallagher and True Test use the same connectors. All right, I need a vise to hold this cable or this connector in place. It's kind of like a third hand. So I'm gonna tighten the vise down to the bench. All right, so now let's see. Pull that back more. That cable tie didn't hold where it's supposed to in place, so put another one on it. Oops. All right, I'm going to stop this video because it'll take a little bit, and then I'm going to make a part 2. So I guess this is going to be a 2-part deal so far. So we'll stop this video and we'll make a part 2. So see you in just a bit.